Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello dear students, welcome to another lecture. In this class, we are going to begin with worksheet number 7 of reading section, class 11th alternative English Nagaland board. Now in this worksheet, we are going to study an unseen poem, a very famous poem which is written by Robert Frost, that is The Road Not Taken. So let us start reading the poem now. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. So he tells us that there were two roads in front of him. Diverging is moving away from each other. Okay. So there were two roads that moved, that were in different directions in the yellow wood. Wood refers to forest. So in the forest, which was yellow in color. Now, yellow color of the forest or the trees represent what? The autumn season. So we are talking about the autumn season. There were two roads in front of the poet, and he says that unfortunately he could not travel on both the roads together, since he was just one traveler. Okay, so he was one person. He could not travel on both the roads at the same time. So he stood there for a very long time, and he looked down as far as I could. So he looked at both the roads that lay in front of him for as long as he could, till the time they bent in the undergrowth. Undergrowth means being covered by heavy bushes. So till the time the roads were plain and he could see, it was okay with him. But then there was a moment after which the roads were covered with a lot of heavy bushes. So beyond that, he could not see anything. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. So he says that he took the other road. So he took the second road because he found that to be very fair. He found his decision and the road to be a fair one, and he thought that the road had better claim, had a better quality, and is going to lead him, to a better path of life. Because that road was grassy and wanted wear. Wanted wear means it seemed when he looked at that road that not many people had travelled on that road. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. So since the poet was looking and analyzing those two roads for the first time, therefore for him those two roads seemed so different. But for those people who would pass by those roads every day on a regular basis and see them every now and then, for them the two roads were almost the same. There was no difference at all. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. So he says that that morning when he had to decide which road he should travel on, both the roads lay in front of him. They were there in front of him, and nobody had stepped on them. How did he got to know that? Because no seed had trodden black. When you step on a leaf, the color of the leaf changes to black. So the leaves had fallen on the ground because obviously it was an autumn season, but the leaves were not black. So that clearly meant that nobody had stepped on either of the two paths in the morning. Oh, I kept the first for another day. And so he was the first person to have, taken one of those two roads. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever. Now here, the poet is basically representing with the help of the two roads the decisions that one makes in life. There are so many times when we have two choices that we have to, choose from. We choose the best possible alternative. We choose what we feel is the best for us. And when we are making that choice, we have that nagging doubt in our mind whether we'd be able to come back or not, whether we'd be able to retrieve what all has been lost or not. And that is the doubt that everyone has when choosing something, when going for a new alternative in one's life. So they also, here the poet also, he knew that the choice that he's going to make is certainly going to lead to something else. But he was doubtful, he was afraid whether he'd be able to return back, whether he'd be able to work upon if there is any error or a mistake that he makes. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. Now, the poet says that I shall be telling this with a sigh. Sigh is a deep breath when you are sad about something. So, this word sigh tells us one thing, that the decision that the poet made was not correct. He did not choose the correct road. So he says that ages and ages means in future I'm going to tell the people about the bad choice that I had made in life. I will tell them how two roads diverged in a wood, how two roads moved in front of me in a wood, and I chose the road which according to me was less traveled by the people, which was less chosen by the people, and that has made all the difference. So this was a very informative, a very motivational poem by Robert Frost. Let us now look at the back exercises. Okay. Summarize the following lines from the poem in your own words. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. As I told you, he was the first one to decide which road he had to choose that day. So he was to make a new and a fresh decision for that particular morning. He was aware that whatever choice, whatever decision he's going to make is certainly going to lead him to something else in life. All the ways, all the decisions in our lives are interconnected, they are intertwined with each other. But he doubted whether he'd be able to come back, whether he'd be able to resolve if he commits an error. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. He again says that, somewhere ages and ages hence, in future, he's going to tell the people that there was a time when he was faced with two decisions in life, and he took the decision that was less probable, that was not taken by many people, which he thought was different than the other. And that has made all the difference. That has changed his life entirely. Answer the following questions briefly. Why was the poet rueing that he could not take both the roads? Obviously, the poet could not take both the roads because he was just one traveler. He was one person and he had to choose one of the two things that lay in front of him. How did the road he chose have a better claim? What better quality did the road chosen by the poet had? So the road that the poet chose was better because it was grassy and not many people had traveled on it. Why did the poet have doubts about the possibility to return to the first road? So the poet had a doubt whether he'd be able to return back from the first road because he was the first one to have stepped on that road and he could see not many people had chosen that road. So obviously he predicted some risks associated with it, and therefore he was doubtful if he'd be able to return back or not. What would the poet be telling with a sigh? So the poet will be telling with a sigh that once there were two roads in front of him, he chose the road which was less traveled, and that has made a lot of difference in his life. Okay. Give the opposites to of the following words from the poem. So all is one, doubted is knowing, less is lead, more, move ahead, diverged is equally lay. It is written, diverging is moving in opposite directions, and equally lay means lying at the same place. And yes, then we have down. There is a second. Yes. So down is hence. Okay. Choose the correct option. The narrator is standing where? He's standing at a forked road. Forked where there are two options. The narrator is a young man. The poem is about a journey along the road, the woods through which the road passes, making a choice in life, as I told you. So with this, my dear students, we come to the end of discussion of worksheet number 7, and I hope it was easy enough for you to figure out the answers. So I'm going to pause here and will see you all now in my next lecture where we shall solve worksheet 8. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.